to kill should make this. It makes me feel better. I'm gonna have to try to.
Oh yeah, the mirror helps tons.
Yeah, I didn't realize the difference till right now. Like I knew it helped, but fuck, dude.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
And then you start as it's coming out of the death.
As you about to start your run, so that's your validity. Your timer will start as you start your official run, like your first weapon going into the run.
Okay. Start.
I'm just gonna assume that you got some
No.
good stuff going on Gordon. I'm just gonna trust yours.
I mean, that's fair.
I'm starting now.
All right,
Yeah, starting.
I'm going into as well. I'm just going to take down this additional damage because I don't want to take that much damage.
Stop talking. Stupid Hades. He decided to give a speech on this run for some reason.
Oh, you love the speeches.
Yeah. He's giving me Papa advice.
So what weapons everyone gone with?
I've gone for the sword first.
Yeah, sword first.
Oh,
sure.
I think the bow and that's probably going to be the harder ones, to be honest.
I've gone for the gun off. So I could be way slower than you two.
I mean, you got time to catch up there.
At least.
Now trying to figure out as I go, what's going to be the best thing to go with here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows?
Sancho's not even been working, folks. He's just been practicing Hades. He's actually lying to you right now. It's gaslighting is all.
Hell yeah. Watch as I miss these pots on purpose. And I forgot how to open the door for like 3 chambers in a row.
We'll take a hammer. Hammers are good. We like hammers.
Nah, skip them. They're bad. You don't want them. This is so much easier than Fresh File.
I know. So much easier,
bro. I'm playing on hard. This is fucking baby mode now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everything dies in like one fucking hit.
It's like this is nice and chilled. It doesn't mean we get the runs done, folks. Let's not get that twisted for anybody thinks otherwise. It does not mean we're getting the runs done, but
I keep hitting the wrong. I keep hitting fucking Night Rain. So every time I keep hitting right to pick up the little ball at the end, and it keeps opening the menu.
Okay.
All right. Sam cooking over there. What's going on?
No, I'm just making strategic decisions.
All right.
The kitchen's on fire.
Nice.
Strong, isn't it?
I'll cook it all.
Squad, why putting things in my mouth? I'm in the middle of a race. You just ramming things in my mouth.
Love it.
There you go.
He loves it.
I hate this one. This you know when you use the companion and it's that one that teleports around. It's like, okay, it's missed him now. Great, he's gone. He's dipped. He's out.
Yeah. I can't even remember whether your companion. How do you even use your companion?
L trigger.
Right trigger.
Okay.
One of them's your call. One of them's your.
One of us is gaslighting you. Which one is it? Because we went opposite ways.
I mean,
that's because Porter doesn't know his left from right.
It's left trigger. I've just used it. I know where I'm at. I don't know where you're at.
Oh, I have inverted controls, so that's why.
Inverted control that applies to your sticks. No, you dumbass.
No. It's your buttons too. I keep hitting right trigger to grab shit because of fucking Night Rain. I'm tired of seeing this fucking menu, bro. Hyper Sprint. Let's go. should have taken money.
The gun is way slow, man.
Yeah, but if you get the right things for the gun, you're just good. You're all good. Let's just put it that way. Which gun did you go with, out of curiosity?
The bottom one.
You went with Lucifer. Oh, dude. Yeah, you're having fun.
Was that a bad one?
I mean, it's the amount of times I've tried to use it, it's just not been great. I don't want to be stood there with trying to charge a beam with it.
Yeah. I mean,
The good one is Eris,
So,
because if you stand in your special, you get an additional damage boost. So you can just use your Y, stand in your grenade, get a damage boost. And there is a hammer you can get, which basically changes your weapon from having to reload it to it being a 3-round burst, but you don't have to reload.
okay. No, it's good to know that after I started order.
I mean, you didn't ask. You just said I'm using the gun. It's like, okay, cool. I mean, if you ask the question, I'll tell you, mate.
I'll make it work.
I hate these bloody hand ones. You know, they want to just chain you up. They're such pointless things.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm on the lady.
Like that. Oh, we're on a boss order. Okay.
I've just got there too.
I'm lacking behind a little bit.
It's alright. You catch up. You'll probably be a mid to late game when you start popping off.
I think I'm about to get there, to be fair. Well, let's
I don't want any more.
You don't want any more.
I don't like it.
What do you mean Carelizer 2.0? Why don't you like it?
It's too strong. I don't like it.
You sound like you're off your rock already.
Let me
Gordo
just
was
see
telling the
more.
truth on it being able to. Although
All right,
it wasn't
beat the
very
lady.
good against Meg.
It's all
No.
squishy. You'll probably tip it into your mouth. It's strong, isn't it?
Nice.
I killed her.
Brain food.
Nice. You're not that far behind. We're pretty much neck and neck.
What weapon did you go with, Sancho?
Strong, isn't
Sword. I'm
Are
using
you
the
both
sword.
having a, you both having a
Yeah.
sword?
The
So you're just gonna do it in order?
yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll go off vibes.
My keepsakes. Go with that one. Up we go.
Right. I'm now moving this thing. I was just trying Miss Gordo's thing.
Scenery at least.
Come on, man. Give me something tasty, Demeter.
Oh, whoa.
I can fish.
Yeah, this weapon. Shit.
If you, honestly, mate, if you'd asked, I would have told you that. But
Oh, we'll cook.
I mean, the only part that's interesting to weapon is like if you do the Y and you set the orbs up and you can shoot the orbs, they explode. But it's big problem of the weapon in terms of anything is it's just very, very, very slow.
Yes, we've got a crystal beam.
I don't know what I picked. Oops. That's a stupid boat.
Sure, we'll take more dodges in a row. Why not?
More dodges?
More dodges. All about those dodges, right?
That's too many.
All about the dodges.
Hell yeah.
Pleasure doing business.
Best team.
Athena's power.
I hate getting Poseidon. Actually, the only thing I like about Poseidon is his tidal dash, and then his rupture stuff. But I hate every other thing of his attacks because all his basics do is fling everything away from you, so you have to chase them down.
Yeah.
Like tidal dash is
think
OP.
you're meant to like hit it into walls and shit, but it doesn't throw them that much.
This is all weapons projects. This is no half attempts. This is the whole shebang. Sancho came out retired for this.
Better than Riposte, right?
Yeah, Flash is good. Riposte is good for opening up Divine Protection, the legendary drop you can get for Athena.
Sure. Totally. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's just a good defensive boon.
Yeah. 100%. Oh, I forgot I had this. Oh no, I didn't pick. Did I pick the last time? Sure.
Both their might.
We'll take a duo boon early. Why not?
What's
Can
the
that be
one?
stunned by bosses?
Oh,
I've just turned one down.
Which one was it? Was it one of the garbage ones, by any chance?
I just don't think it'd be good for this weapon. It's a good one, but not with this weapon. It's the Demeter one with.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say it's the cast for Demeter. I mean, that's like ideal for you. That's what you want, right? The the little crystals that shoot out lasers and that stuff as well.
Yeah, I've got that already. But what it does is it makes them shoot towards you, which isn't really always ideal.
I like the one that makes it aim quicker on enemies. That one I don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, oh
how do you cast?
god.
Huh? B?
A, right?
Right bumper.
Is yours inverted? It might be like start or something for you.
Yeah. It doesn't let me. Maybe my A button don't work. No, but I could collect shit. I don't know, man. I might have a
Sancho's
setting.
gaslighting for days.
You can't do it.
Oh yeah, it's B for me.
Nice.
B is dash, Y is attack, X is special. It should be A then, right?
Mine's B.
Whatever's the button on the right hand side of the four.
Yeah, that's A. It won't let me. It won't let me cast anything. It's weird.
Zesty.
All right, we're on to
It might
Asphodel.
be- It might be one of the little contract things that I did. I didn't really read them.
How I feel, Ernie.
All right, I'm on big snaky boy.
Me too.
It's got to copy me.
I got here first, mate. You're late to the party.
You didn't say it. So it don't
I
count.
did. I literally said that to a few seconds ago.
I didn't hear it, so it doesn't count.
You don't hear shit yet.
I think I'm about to get to late to the party.
Where's the last head? Stupid. There we go. Alright.
Done. Why you gotta copy me?
We got to. The law.
That's it for Asphodel.
Alright, on to the bane of most people's runs. This old place with these donuts.
It's because you're bad at poison.
No, we're not even at that point yet. That's when it gets really bad.
Oh,
I hate the
you're right.
poison area.
This is the explodey bullshit.
Yeah, this is... We got extra lives. Why don't we get extra lives? Oh, you
Yeah,
do.
fuck
But
those.
we get more.
I need health, right? I don't think so. I still have 3 fucking deaths. I don't need health.
Oh, finished. Leonard.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, we'll take a hammer. Sure, we've already got double dash strike. What else can we have?
Triple dash strike.
True that. You know what? I wouldn't mind.
Well,
It's really annoying going from fresh file to this and then be like, oh, look at what we could do.
Yeah.
here's what you could have. Let's go for a hammer. See what they got for me.
Sure. Doubles on dash strike, doubles on special. Why not?
Nice.
What the fuck is this animal?
I guess.
That's better.
We'll take Athena. You know what? I buy with Athena. The damage is good. All right.
I think my build is kind of terrible.
Time to be honest.
Ah. This is gonna be annoying going back to fresh file.
I know, right? I did any percent between it, then I was like, oh, I can't even do this shield stuff anymore now. I'm like, I just want to go dash really, 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 really quick.
Yeah.
Olympus, I accept this message.
Stop. I keep hitting fucking right trigger.
I don't think that was the right call. Only ones I don't mind when it comes to the ones that have additional lives is the bowman. Because they don't have ways to just be annoying. They just get slapped around.
I'll pay for that.
It's kind of terrible.
We'll take Rupture. Rupture's good. We dig Rupture.
Oh shit. Simon's
Oh.
getting AI viewers.
Defan, get out of there.
Fuck off.
Hey, it's the cowboy.
Cowboy?
Yeah, he's a cow. He's a boy.
Oh,
Cowboy.
Minotaur dude. I was like, huh? Cowboy? I was like,
Yeah.
there's like, I've never seen a cowboy.
I'm looking at him right now.
I hate these fucking cart
Got
motherfuckers.
him.
That's what I hate about fucking this area.
Which one?
The cabbages. Well, the fucking.
The
I thought you said,
cabbages?
I thought you said cabbage. Dude, I'm English and I can't understand you right now.
The cabbages, man.
The
The
he
cabbages
means
look
he
good.
means the chariots. I'm assuming is what he
The
means.
chariots.
Carrots, yeah, that's what. Oh, God.
Sorry, folks, we're experiencing some international issues here.
Yeah, as long as it wasn't just me.
No, I had cabbages too. I was like, huh? Why are they cabbages? Man's playing the wrong game. Man's in Stardew Valley or something.
Fighting the cabbages.
Cabbage merchant.
He's like, I thought we were growing all weapons, bro.
Should be useful.
All right, on to the Minotaur and his buddy.
The cabbage merchant.
That's it. The Cabbage Patch Kids.
I'm back.
Fuck off.
I don't think there's enough time for that. Cabbage merchant.
Oh, fuck.
Took another Hades. Why not? Oh, these guys just fucking explode in my face.
Oh,
you
that's one.
stupid
You got some cabbages over there.
cabbages. Yeah, I got some cabbages.
Yeah, so it's all fun and games until you have the cabbages yourself. And it's
Right,
not so
Minotaur's
fun.
down.
Nice.
Enjoyed the show out in the stands. Guess I'll be going then.
Um,
Wash away my boons.
What, you fought the Minotaur boss?
yep.
But the
Gonna say, if you're
small-
not the actual boss over there. Yeah. Then I'm way behind. But yeah, that feels a little bit bad.
Here's where it all goes to shit in any of my stuff because me and Poison do not vibe. Mm,
all right, fighting the boys.
ba 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 ba.
What's the record on this? Like 40 minutes?
On all weapons, I have no idea actually.
I'm fighting the boys too.
Nice.
Okay, he's catching up. All right, yeah, he's playing this nonsense. He's like, I'm nowhere near you boys. Yeah. Right on Sancho's tail. Oh, not Juan. Not this little tiny vermin, you little.
Got him. It was left trigger. You were correct.
I know you don't like to believe me sometimes, Sancho, but I'm not trying to trick you all the time.
I thought it was right.
Oh shoot.
Little shitty fucking tiny ass rat thing.
Precious little. That's a lot of corn. Beats dying.
Calm down. Ah.
We'll take that. Couldn't even see where the poison. I couldn't even see where the poison healing thing was. Like, hang on, I'm trying to move around here. Where the hell is it?
You get poisoned so much, dude.
Literally, well, because I just spam the hell out of tidal dash. I'm like dash, 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 dash.
Yeah, even I don't know.
Hoping on a little bit of luck here. Get me the fucking the sack straight away.
What she said that time. Oh, we can fish.
Oh, you should need this rest.
I caught a guppy. I don't remember if we want to do the boss doors or don't want to do the boss doors at the end.
You want to get a sack and go. Then
You always want to take the one of the bosses first. I think is the always used the way to go. One of the bosses rooms,
like-
and then
It forces the bag at a higher percent if you do them or if you don't do them. I don't remember.
it's
Something like that.
it's,
Like,
typically
the bag
they'll
won't show
go.
up. I think you're right. The bag won't show up unless you do one of them or something. Some shit like
No,
that.
you can go without it, but it's better odds, I think, if you do it with doing one of the bosses first or something.
Yeah.
I think that's the most plausible one that I've seen across the board.
There was something like that. Something to manipulate. I don't remember what, but that sounds right.
Yeah.
Sata storage. Acquired taste.
All right, on to Hades.
I'll take this one.
80s nuts.
Damn right.
See you, boy.
All right, Hades. All right, let's play nice here. Let's be reasonable. I don't want to be beat by my dad.
So this is probably going to be our fastest, at least my fastest run, and we're already at 30 minutes, bro. That means
Yeah.
if we do all 6, this is a 3-hour fucking run, dude. And that's if we're perfect, which we will not
Oh
be.
yeah. I got the fucking thing in a second chamber. Love that.
Damn. I'm still fucking hunting.
You know, I'm
Hey, you got
gonna treat myself to a fucking Hermes. Fuck it.
You said with herpes? What was that?
He's gonna treat himself
No.
to some herpes. He said.
I did not say herpes.
I mean, I definitely heard herpes.
Yeah.
You heard what you wanted to hear.
I mean, look, I'm looking out for your health. It's not a good thing to treat yourself to, mate. I know Brum's like a dire place, but that can't be the only treat you've got.
Give it to the dog. Hades is just redneck sim, run around the ghetto beating up your family. Yeah.
Basically.
Hell yeah.
All right, phase 1 done.
Come on, get up. Not yet.
Don't talk. More fight.
That's going to work.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's what I did. I changed my controls. My cast is on my trigger now. That makes sense. I did that for something.
Confuse yourself.
Okay, I've been handicapping myself a little bit without cast. But it's fixed now.
Ow.
Hades done. 1 down. Welcome in Jericho's over in Simon's side. Welcome to the shit show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I might not even
how's
get.
it going, man?
I might not even get there, bro.
How you doing well, mate?
In the name of someone very sore right now.
This,
Yeah,
this
phase
one is
2.
awful. Did not, yeah, I'll regret using this gun.
I mean, you got to use it at some point. I heard this game was good, but I've never played it. I don't take the recommendation. I have to watch Simon play it. He's trying to give himself herpes.
Man, this game's incredible. Yeah, look,
Mm-hmm.
I know you like Fallout, of course, but what other games are you into? I don't really know what to compare this to.
Hades 2.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
for
yeah,
sure. I died.
Oh no! Oh,
Oh
no!
no!
Join me out there.
I got lucky in a little bit. Otherwise, I'm gonna have the same fate as fucking Sancho.
All right, I'm going for the next run.
I did
All
not
right,
want
all
that.
right, boys.
You know, we'll just
I
have
did
to
not
catch
want
up.
that on a, I did not want that on the gun. That is the last thing I need.
No thanks.
Let's try.
See
Oh shit!
sight.
Guess we got this guy, right? You have frost. Your health is reduced. Yeah, I think this is a. How do we?
All the hit issues I'm hearing. I don't know how to use my cast. Oh, I've changed my cast. Oh, I'm using this crap gun. What am I using this gun for?
Bro, I haven't played in like
Oh shit!
so long. I haven't used
gonna
half
go.
these fucking weapons.
What happened, Simon? I mean, did you just prematurely ejaculate? So I heard some noises.
No, please, no,
Did
Is
you
he
die?
died?
not
He-
yet.
Not yet. I mean, this sounds like it. It sounds like a death right there.
Sweet.
I think that's the one I liked. Um,
Um,
Oh, like it's safe. There we go, killed him. Thank God for that.
oh, okay. Sancho is out of it.
I'm not catching up.
Yeah, you are. I don't hear that nonsense.
I just did not want to do that gun again. That's the last thing I needed.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
this-
don't want
this sounds great.
Zeus. Zeus's AIDS. Yeah, I want Zeus's AIDS. Absolutely want Zeus's AIDS.
You want Zeus's aid?
Absolutely. I mean, you know what Zeus does? Just goes around impregnating mortals.
Yeah,
Giving
that is true.
Can't do that.
That Yeti hurt. Not as much as it would have hurt if you didn't kill him first. Oh. We're gonna go for the gloves. A little bit of a quicker one.
what weapon are you going to set now?
Oh, I hit the wrong button.
The gauntlets.
Okay, okay.
And I'm using the magnet one.
Nice. That one's decent. Demeter's the best one if you've not gone into the run already, just an FYI.
Yeah. This one doesn't count though, by the way.
No.
This race.
I mean, definitely counts. Definitely
No, it
counts.
doesn't
mate.
Definitely doesn't count.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay,
Uh,
I'm just losing time for the sake of losing time. Sure.
Yeah, I have already gone into the. I've already gone into the one. Yeah, it is what it is. If we all use the same shit, it makes it a little bit more boring, isn't it? So it has a little bit of variety.
And my key.
True. The Pantheon of Venerable. Yes, that is literally what this is at the moment. The Pantheon of diseases. Herpes, AIDS, you name it, we got it.
That's good.
I'm have to say Zeus is crap, aren't I? Bleh.
Stand for this.
You guys call it the clap over there, or is that just an American thing?
Simon,
have a
you'd be more prone to knowing it.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that not doing?
You're from Birmingham, dude. That's like a regular Tuesday night for you. That and Domino's.
No, not really. I have you know, I've never ever had an STD. Thank you very much.
I'm glad you could spell it. This is why we do these things, folks. Not for the racists. No one cares about that at the moment.
Oh yeah, this race is fucked.
Hey,
mean-
effect.
At least for me.
Nah, it's not. It's not over yet. Not over to the fat lady
It's very
sings.
much over. After 2 hours, I'm fucking done, bro. And
Nah.
we're on pace to hit like 3.
You'll be fine. What are you talking about?
No.
I don't like that one. Is it a percentage one? It's okay.
Could be worse. You could have died on the go. That's a big no-no.
That's true.
So, let's go then.
My favorite is these like fat ghosts because they remind me of the ghost from Luigi's Mansion. You ever play Luigi's Mansion? Top
Yeah.
game?
Well,
Nah? It's really good.
nah. I hate Zeus, man. He's got such a whack fucking set of things.
Yeah, he's just a little lightning boy.
Can I just skip his whole thing? I don't want it.
Look, you want Zeus's AIDS. Just accept it.
I mean, you can die on purpose and reset it if you want.
Yeah. You can just die if you don't think you've got it.
Let's hear it from
Nah, I can do it. I just don't want to do it.
keep face hold. All set. Up we go.
Damn Demeter. Let's have a look, see what Demeter's got for me.
Getting warmer.
Oh, fuck.
The only one thing I like from that one is the cast. I've had to take the basic, but I don't particularly even like that.
I think she has a pretty good combination with Ares, if I remember rightly.
Okay.
Can't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure they have a pretty sick one together.
Lord Zeus. I feel all tingly. Moving right along.
Need a hammer or so. Just work me, game. Give me a hammer.
No. If you got to the Megara on the
Yeah.
second one yet?
I'm just going to Asphodel. I think I'm going to need help with this one. Oh, hammer! We take the hammer. Sancho, how you doing over there, mate? I don't like this disheartened talk from you. All right, on race days, I want to hear smack talking from you. It's not fun otherwise.
I'm hanging out
I-
with the big boulder man. That's what I'm doing.
I mean, Boulder's good people. Boulder's good people.
Yeah.
You have to give
Love
Baldy.
Baldy.
In a way,
But
do you
also,
see,
it's fine
do you
because this
see,
isn't a real race day. It don't
do
count.
you see yourself in Sisyphus?
Yeah.
Is that where you went there?
Doing the runs
Having
over and
the
over again.
heart.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Any percenters?
Yo, Reaper, welcome in.
What's up,
Welcome in.
dude?
Yo, Reaper.
We're having a fake race night that doesn't count.
Look at Sancho, but I mean, we might even get it finished, mate, and they're already bottling it out.
Yeah, because it doesn't count.
It's okay, mate. You say it enough times, you'll start to believe it.
No, I don't count. Okay. Sure.
Lord Poseidon.
I noticed Tiffany. It's been a while since I fought her, so I can't remember what she does.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
they do the
It's the one
same
that
shit.
closes in the fingernails and shit. Nah, the
Crazy one,
Oh.
I think so.
oh, for fuck's sake.
What's happened to you?
The fucking summon thing that I use, it just sometimes the boss can just get out of it. It's just
That can happen.
Which one are you using?
the end one. I can't remember what it is. The far right one. It's 3.5k. In I think it's the end one. That's the second one. More. There's 3.5k, but there's a brief delay on it.
Don't spend it all in one place, mate.
That.
It brings up like a big circle, and obviously the boss isn't in that circle, and you fucked it.
Right, we're at Lenny.
Oh my god!
I see you regrew your
What weapon are you using?
The gun.
Oh fucking hell!
That's cheating. I'm using a spear. Why you got a gun?
You should, use the tools you've got.
Reaper, how's it going?
Can't do that.
keeps fucking throwing the Zeus stuff at me. I don't want it. No Reaper. Oh my god. Ow.
What's up, Sancho, Gordon, Simone? Simone. All good, mate. All good. How are you?
Oh.
Sancho's a little bit. I mean, he's come back to streaming. He seems to have lost his edge a little bit. He's a little bit salty over there. It's not a real race. He's not a real boy this evening. This is fake
Nah,
news.
it's because I haven't laughed it yet.
I
So it doesn't
had to
count.
play for England. And then it's fucking come back to this. Just sad times.
All right, on to Elysium.
Yeah, we'll get an upgrade. We'll get an upgrade.
The thing is, Sancho's probably just gaslight anyway, just because, you know, this is what he does. Does this whole thing, oh yeah, I'm doing really crap. Secretly, he's on like his 4th run already.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, I'd give you credit if you were.
I could make it look that way. When I put this on YouTube,
Damn right.
it'll look that way.
Oh, great.
Sure. Not the hammer I wanted, but I'll take it.
Come on then. Drop your fucking bag nipples on me.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I heard drop your nipple on me.
That was all I heard. Are you okay over there, Simon? What are you playing? You know we're racing Hades, right?
Cabbages and nipples.
Yeah, that's what I'm playing.
Thank you, Zagreus.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dionysus. I'm empty.
Yeah.
I can't do that. He's trying to explode. Not yet.
Bloody cabbages chasing me now. Jesus.
Good. Oh, okay, yeah.
Feeling good. Something I can use.
You know what? I will pay 75 to prevent flame wheels. Why not? I will happily pay that.
Uh-oh. Boyfriend's here.
How's your run getting on, Sancho?
It's fun, dude. I'm having a ton of fun. Just fucking spearing shit. Having the time of my life. It's so much less pressure when the race don't count.
As we're gonna hear from for decades. It's like, yeah, that one race didn't count. Sorry, that Expedition 33 race didn't count either. You know, those other ones,
Yeah.
they don't really count.
If I lose, they don't count. Only the ones I win count. That's how you stay champion.
Typical Mexican way. Just change your name. You're a champion. Never lost. No, Papi Sancho lost. I'm a different person now. Just check my visa.
I respect it, to be fair.
To be fair, I was in the same boat for the World Cup. I turned Spanish for the night.
Yeah, same. Argentina rap. Absolute cunts of a nation.
That was probably one of their worst showings, 100%. Like they went all out. It's like, we're not even going to hide the fact we're just going to beat the crap out of people and see if we don't get done for assault.
Yeah, disgusting town. I feel sorry for Messi because he's just like.
I don't. He knew what was going on. I don't feel
Part of
sorry
it,
for Mata.
man. He knows, yeah.
He's
not
in.
even-
Yeah, but he's not
Oh,
participating.
I didn't know. I'm just messy. I didn't know this stuff was going on around me. Punch him harder. Hey, twist his dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just killed Lenny.
Nice.
Fighting him right now.
Not yet.
Imagine having this much heads.
I caught half that statement, and all I was, that's this much head.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
What?
It's a lot of head.
What game are you playing?
Same one with the cabbages and the nipples. Gordo's the only one playing a different game.
I know, I'm in the non-triple X rated. Like, you like got cabbages, nipples, lots of head. I'm like, okay, cool.
You're missing out, man.
Yeah, you're definitely missing out.
I clearly got invited to the wrong race. I was like, this is the Excel kind of race, right?
That's why I don't count. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die on this one.
Seriously?
Sancho, come on, man.
You're throwing on purpose now. It's like, nah, I'm not doing this. No, not this many runs. Sod that.
I've only practiced sword for the past like a year.
Yeah, same.
Even, but you lost that one, so don't throw that round as a statement.
So if I lose that one, I'm so fucked on the other ones, bro.
Thank you, mate.
You're with that attitude.
It's fine. I got one life left. We're going into World 3.
Asterius, other guy. I see.
Yeah, you're cool. Sancho, man, I will finish one more.
Fine. These are warm ups.
100%.
Warm up race.
A warm-up race.
Yeah.
Can't knock him for trying.
Alright, Elysium's done. Minotaur's down.
Nice.
It's a shame this is a warm-up race.
Yeah, you'd be doing real good if it was real.
Just what I need.
You know, fuck it, we'll just take his call because he just really wants to give me some shit this whole fucking run, doesn't he? Okay.
Who's cool? Zeus is cool. You got Zeus' age? Oh mate, you're winning. You're winning. You got Zeus' age on your side. You're good. I got Zeus' age right now.
Thanks for the vote of confidence, but I know that's not true. Yeah. Zeus sucks. The whole fucking everything about him sucks. He's got nothing redeemable.
I've got nothing left.
He's good if you pair him with Poseidon. I think he has like
Yes.
one good thing. But that's
Sea
it.
Storm, which
Yeah,
gives
Poseidon
you.
also sucks.
Yeah, the two shit ones. they turn out. Pretty
No,
okay
the good
if you combine them.
Poseidon has some of the best passives. That's what Poseidon has. You know, the whole rupture, dealing damage if they move around to that.
Yeah, and then the
More damage on the first like
the one.
60
Yeah,
seconds of
and,
being in there. I was like, okay, every room you want to be quick anyway.
Lovely.
Yeah,
I knew that they had a good one together. Your cast moves slower, but inflicts more damage. That's fire.
Oh, you fucking little.
Tiny vermin.
Twice I've got tiny vermin, really?
Deserved.
good one. Buy some.
Oh shit.
The problem is, since I put my cast on my trigger, I don't know how to do the god gauge shit, the super call thing.
Oh,
That's,
fucking
that's probably your B, dude. Man chose violence when he's like, I want to play this game normally. I'm gonna change all my things. I'm gonna randomize my controls every time I run.
I must have changed them for the fucking race.
You did. I remember you. I remember a little while ago you mentioned this one, but I didn't know if it was something you were keeping.
It's supposed to be faster, right? Because you can right trigger your cast.
You tell me. Is it working for you, mate?
It works if I remember it's there. I just forgot it was there.
You're just shafting yourself, really, aren't you? That's what it does. Just
Yeah,
handicapping yourself.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
that good.
You got
Like,
you got to make it fair, right? I won the last one by so much.
True. By actually finishing. That's how much you by
Yeah.
finishing.
He keeps trying to give me this drunk man that I don't fucking want.
you don't know what Dionysus.
Nah,
That is Dionysus.
he's got like one good one or two good ones. He's,
That's
not,
outrageous. That's outrageous.
he's more for like to party with, not really to like escape with. He just wants to get drunk all the fucking time. It's cool every once in a while, but I'm not gonna bank my race on
I mean, the way you're talking, your race is already done.
it. That's fair. So we could go party. Might be the way.
All right, I'm making our way through sticks.
Wait, what?
Poison area.
Oh, okay. Awful.
You didn't say it right.
What did I say? What did I say right? Sticks.
Whenever if you're making your way through something, you gotta say it with some fucking.
What, making my way downtown, walking fast.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta put the fucking oomph on
Put
it.
some stang on it.
Did I tell you about the fucking guy who kept saying that?
No.
I went one of the last conventions I went to. Right, we were across the way from some like 3D print Warhammer fucking guys, right? Like D&D dudes, and they had dice towers. And he's like, if you roll a 20, you get like a free fidget toy or whatever the fuck, right? So the first day it was just this weird dude, and like no one wanted to talk to him. But the second day, he brought his homie, who's like, I guess the like showman of the group, because he was like chatting up people and shit. But my favorite thing is that when he was getting people to roll the dice, he kept telling people to like, he's like, throw some stank on that dice.
Staying on that dice. Mm.
But this man was like 40 years old wearing a fedora and saying this to like 8-year-old children.
I mean, it sounds like somebody I know, to be fair. It sounds like a guy I used to play cards with who used to wear a fedora.
Yeah, he told this like 8-year-old little girl, he's like, make sure you put some stank on it. And she just looks at him. It was the funniest shit, dude. Me and the dude I was working with could not stop laughing. So we kept telling people to put stank on it.
That's a crazy thing to say to an 8-year-old to call her.
Yeah, it's so funny, dude. They're like in cosplay as like K-pop demon hunters and like other like whatever. And he's like, put some stank on it. What the fuck, man? Crazy.
I'm just beat the Minotaur.
Nice. I'm just finding Hades.
I'm fighting some guys on a bridge.
Oh, brilliant.
Right, phase 1 done.
Damn.
Eyes on the bridge, guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
what
killed
I
the
got-
bridge guy. The butterfly ball
got-
spawn.
Well, I got him prepared for the stage 2.
Yeah.
I'm
Hell
about
yeah.
to bring out some nasty moves, so you better watch out.
Go shopping.
Second one done.
Nice.
Uh,
My second death's almost here, so.
Oh, we're doing this in reverse. Sancho's through 6 different losses.
Yeah, I'm gonna die with every weapon. Lose to Hades with every weapon. It's a new run.
He's making sure his run is valid, folks. All right, that's what he's doing. Like, it's not a seeded run, folks. Just in case.
Just making sure. I'm on the boys. As long as I die to Hades with each weapon, it counts.
Yeah,
That's my-
exactly. You know, as long as you can just clip art in the whole end screen with your build and that and the completion time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why Darvel didn't get involved. Actually, probably Darvel wouldn't do it. Darvel wouldn't do it. Not randomly.
I don't think he has them all yet. Because he's still playing it casually too on the side, right?
I don't know. He's chasing onions at the moment. I have no idea what he's doing in his life. He's chasing onions.
It's fair. Just get them from the grocery store. But
So when I kept seeing it, like, I want onions. Is that okay, dude? You have those onions.
like Shrek?
Basically, well, fourth place in the boards, you get, you know, like 1, 2, 3. Fourth place is onion. So
That's
this is gonna be the run that Cooks makes. It's through using the shield.
You ever watch Shrek in Spanish?
I have not.
It's so much better. I'm not even
I can't-
joking. It's so much better.
I kind of
It
want
just-
it.
The voices are way better. The jokes are funnier. Solid.
yeah, but are the jokes funny if you can't understand it?
You don't need to understand things to be funny. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, not all the time you don't. But some of the time you do.
Nah, they
We don't understand you half the time.
Yeah, I'm in last. We laugh. It's fine. Alright, I
Oh,
beat the boys.
back to back two chamber fucking sacks.
Hell yeah.
That's God, that is. I need that sort of fucking energy.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be the one that messes me up.
What do you want
Which
now?
the shield. I'm using the Beowulf one. Obviously, we're not starting off with charge shots. You know, we're having to use the shield, not the actual bow shield.
Okay. Lady Demeter. All right.
He's one to give me that the ice chick.
Hello, Nyx.
He's cool.
Ha 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 ha. Zeus, like, Zeus, dude, just go and say hi to Simon. I don't need you right now.
You've been waiting for this, haven't you?
I need to fuck off. I don't want him.
Meg, help.
You called? I have to go.
Oh, fuck off.
What happened to you?
I used my fucking greater cool and he went underground like a little nonce.
That sounds like a nonce thing to do, yeah. Went underground.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Hey, hey. Baldy and I,
Plus, we can use some health.
I got you covered.
Hello, Sancho's just so catch. Yeah, we'll just do this for a bit. That's nice. It's nice.
Yeah, we're chilling.
Oh, fuck.
Hey,
We'll take a hammer. So, I'm glad you got two, mate. That's a normal number.
Cool.
No, you don't have 2 sack. You have 1 sack. 2 balls. You don't got. If you have 2 sacks, that's a problem.
I mean, look,
One of
each to
those
their
is
own.
cancer.
You're late. My boom.
Oh, fuck me.
You die?
No, I got charge shot.
Oh,
Sure,
Is that a
game,
good one?
sure. That's the one you go for when you're doing the shield run. Because it turns your shield into a bow.
mm.
And you can just sit there behind your shield and just tank everything because it's a bow with safety.
Fun.
We got a bit reckless there. Because we were doing chunky damage, but it's fine.
Bye, Meg. The underworld's power.
There we go. Killed Hades. Fucking thankful for that.
Let's see here.
Mm,
Might help. That's Tartarus. Learning awaits.
Well, Hermes, formerly known as Herpes, in Birmingham. Let's go.
You gonna watch the Odyssey?
I mean, I keep hearing a lot about it. I might check it out.
See the new Resident Evil trailer dropped? Looks good.
I haven't watched it yet. It's up on my to-do list to check out at least.
A Resident Evil game or Resident Evil film?
Movie.
Oh,
But it's not
That's why
based
the
off the
guy-
games, and it's like
It is.
gonna make.
It is based on the game. It's just not based on the main game characters.
that's all right. Not all the good Resident Evil movies aren't based on the games anyway.
Yeah. It's also the dude who did Barbarian and Weapons. So it looks fucking good. How do I know? It's definitely I didn't switch the button to do the call. So I don't know what button it is. Oh, there it is.
Hey,
I don't know what I did. I mashed everything.
that'll do. That works.
It might have been the sticks.
Just you have to press all sticks together.
I think it was
LP
both
and
sticks.
RB.
Honestly, I think it was sticks. Okay, I died. That's 2 down. 2 deaths down. All right, now we're doing.
In the name of Hades.
I love how he's committed to the bit.
Yes, he always does. That's the Sancho thing. If you didn't commit to the bit, I'd be like, if he turned around and said, "Now, I'm not racing anymore. I'm done," because he's thinking, then I'd lost respect for him.
Okay, what are we doing? Bear claws? Are we doing bow? Rama?
Hey, you've only practiced one thing.
Yeah.
just get
What this one did.
that sword done first. At least get the sword run down. Like, don't let your year's worth of hard work go down the drain.
We're doing all the weapons, bro. We're dying with all the weapons. That's the race now.
It only counts if you die on Hades though.
Yeah, it only counts if I die on Hades, 100%. That's the rules. Oh,
Did
shit,
you die?
that one
Did you
that
die in Hades? Everyone?
Yeah, so far I've died twice on Hades.
I mean, that's not bad though. That's consistency.
Yeah. I just forgot how to fight that man since it's been a minute. It's hard to kill your father, you know? It's memories and shit.
So I ain't got those or his whereabouts.
Same,
Oh, it's hard to kill him because you can't find him.
Well, I ain't got the memory, so it's not that part's not the hard part.
It's still hard to kill him.
One of them's not going to like this. Any other boons for me? That beats the heat.
Right, we're just doing frosty stuff.
She won't like this.
Oh, you do. What is? It makes it harder, right?
Which one?
The little fire portals.
Yeah, something like that. But they give you better rewards or something. But there's like certain criteria to it, like you have to do it without taking any damage or some nonsense like that. All right, that's at least what I had in one of mine. Oh, I'm not doing well this one.
What are you fucking laughing at, Will? Are you fucking
Yeah.
pulling a Sancho?
No, I'm good. Hello, I'm still too. I'm alright. I'm good. Mm,
Pleasure doing business. What else we got?
right, we're on to Lenny. The snake.
Or you're fighting it?
I was a magma tanker lately, Lerny.
Yeah, no.
Like Ares. Don't want Poseidon, but
Megara.
Ready.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, so far, this is not a promising run. The other two felt comfortable. This, not so much. We have damage, but I'm also getting slapped a lot.
don't do that.
I know.
Yeah, I feel a bit spongy as well.
Mm,
Get out of this damn heat.
whereabouts are you on your run? And is it this run 2 or 3?
I'm on 3, and I just got into Asphodel.
3? You've done 2 successful runs. Oh, Simon. Simon's
What are you using?
cooking.
You're on the
Yeah.
bear, and Simon's on what?
I'm on the shield.
Oh,
I'm on
shield. What?
the bow.
Oh, bow.
Armies. Your attack is faster. I'll have a look.
So now, because I got charge shot, and technically my bull rush is now a ranged move, it now says my bull rush does 400% damage with this new one I've got. Does that mean I hit harder from like a massive distance? Surely it does, right?
Surely.
I don't. But
Delicious.
Mm,
Next.
Are you using anything from the Pact of Punishment thing? Or are you racing it with zero shit?
Which what? Who do what?
The fire
Oh.
thing, like to make it harder? Did you use any of those?
I use tight
Oh,
deadline
no.
because
Oh, I have
And-
like a bunch of them on.
as I say, you always want tight deadline on because it gets rid of the timed rooms. I think.
Yeah.
If
I
Oh,
have that
really?
one.
Okay.
I have a ton of other ones on too.
Didn't know that.
just ask, mate. Just ask questions.
I mean, you could just let that information be known.
I don't know what you need to know. What you don't want to know. I just you ask the question, I'll answer it.
I want to know how to go faster. I want to know if there's a way to go faster, and I'm not doing it. Then
Just give it just the controller to somebody else. Just give it to Hades runner, not me. Give it to Sancho. He goes real fast. He gets back to that menu before anybody. He resets more than a Res 2 run.
how's your one getting on, Gordo?
I'm in Elysium again. I'm not feeling the most confident with this one, I'll be honest. I've got like one Defiance left. And we've not seen the guy that gives us a Defiance back. I have just got a chance to refill one. I'm going to take it just in case I don't see it. Because it would be nice to get the full refill. But I have a feeling we're not going to get that lucky.
He has a name.
I don't know what his name is. Do you not know his name?
Achilles' boyfriend.
That's the name.
That's his name.
That sounds like a
No.
title.
That's his name.
That's messed up. Bro said he has a name and then labeled him as someone's boyfriend.
That's what he is. That's his
No,
name.
that's just his his employment history.
Yeah, I want that.
Oh shit! Please get it.
Damn, the twins come back.
Wrong button.
It's not gonna give me, is it? No. Okay. Cool. Awesome. That is fine. Do not give me the refills on my Death Defiance game. I don't want them anyway.
You don't need it. It's fine.
Just take the fucking keepsake and get an extra one. I've just arrived in Elysium.
Nice.
Loose. Love that guy.
Not yet. Set.
You're the only one that does.
All right. Elysium done.
Nice.
Can I get some applause or something here? I needed one of those. Purge boons for coin. need to be ungrateful here.
Mm,
You know what I have been playing? Though? I've been playing more Night Rain solo.
nice. How's that going, mate? We need to do our thingy
Good,
run at
good.
some point.
Yeah, I beat one of the Everdarks solo.
Nice. Which one? I need to get one of those done for one of the relics I want.
I think the dogs. I think it was the dogs.
Yeah, we need to, when you're back and that, we need to organise a session for single runs on each of them and then a big any percent run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm gonna take the health.
All right.
Right. We're going through sticks. Sorry, I gotta put some stank on that.
No, that wasn't the point. You said making your way. That's the part.
Oh, that was the point. Yeah, not the name of the place. It was the making my way downtown,
Yeah.
walking fast. That.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't work right now.
One of my friends is doing roller derby now, and their name is Terry. So their roller derby name is Terry Brews, and it's fucking amazing.
Oh, it's such a random. Like, one of my friends is doing roller derby. Their name is Terry. I thought that was what stories, and then it's like, dude, that was a great story about this random person called Terry.
It was going. It was relating. We were talking about Terry Crews.
Terry.
All my stories relate eventually. Terry Brews. It's a good name.
Good name. Solid name. All right. Oh, 2 sack. Oh. Oh, and we got Merciful End as well. We'll take that.
We're all getting 2 sacks.
All the sacks.
Lovely. So you love to see. Oh, fuck.
Hmm. All right, we're on to Hades.
Nice.
He's nuts.
We are basically on his nuts. You're 100% right. We managed to buy back all of our defiances. It's like, okay, fine, I'll buy them.
Oh, lovely. Better than nothing. Oh, guess what I got? I got Young Man for the Death Defiances. I don't need it though.
You found his boyfriend? Nice.
His name's Patroclus.
Oh, that's right. That's Greek for Achilles' boyfriend.
I'm sure it is.
Hey. Learning. At least doing these runs, I'm getting a lot of gems. Fix up the house and shit.
And just focus on renovation right now.
Hell yeah.
Look,
Anything- Anything to make it seem like he's not invested in the run. It's like, I'm just sorting out the house and shit.
It's it's part of the game. You gotta date the head. You gotta build a fish tank and change the floors. Pick some good music. It's all part of it.
You playing your own game, you are.
No, all that stuff you can do in here. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah, not in the middle of a race, you don't do though.
yeah, you do. That's real balls. That's real balls right there.
I've been fishing every time I see a hole. Sometimes you gotta take some time to stop, slow down. Fish.
Hmm.
Fish are worth stuff. Hammer.
Ooh.
Call it in a Minotaur.
Nice. Look how we
Did
just
you beat
ignore the other guy.
Yeah.
Like he's not part of it.
Yeah, he's a little beach boy.
Yeah, he is a little bitch boy. Your celestial Sharanga attack creates a blast wave. What the fuck is that?
Oh, that was such a squeaky bum time. Third one down, boys. All right, 3-weapon run done. Should we just call it 3-weapon run? And just be okay with that?
Nah.
No, you said 6. You gotta do all 6.
I feel like this thing is just like the punishment to me. It's like, okay, yeah, you're doing fine. It means you have to finish it, dickhead.
Yeah. Different rules for. See, that's why this race don't count. Gordo's changing the rules already.
No, I was thinking more for your sake. I mean, you've not finished the run yet, Sergio. You've not finished.
My run is
finished.
different. I'm dying to every Hades.
The underworld prince is getting rather good at this. But let us say he perished anyhow. Again?
Sure, we'll do double. Why not?
Feels like it's been a while, everybody. Thought I had you there.
Okay.
Oh, I meant to do that reversed. I meant to pick Poseidon and then have Athena fight me, but oops.
It's all part of the show. It's all part of the inevitable death to Hades.
All right.
Well, it's
Oh,
not
it's
Poseidon
Fizz.
who's better. He just throws little waves.
Poseidon's an uncommon fool, I've been
I always avoid Poseidon, Afro. Who's the other one?
Aphrodite is fucking brutal, yeah.
Yeah, his is annoying as well because
Never-
you get hit by
never
that.
turn her
You get
down.
hit by that knockback. It sends you flying.
Just don't get hit.
It's true that. Well, that's not a great
Oh,
hammer, but we'll
fucking
take it.
butterfly ball.
I love the butterfly ball.
blasted wretches.
That bad. Gotta call the girlfriend for help.
Let's see what else.
Oh,
Okay, this is gonna be.
Sea God's might.
Won't even give me Tidal Dash. What a game.
More to fight. Gemstones.
Take the coinage.
fuck you now.
What's going on, mate? What's happening with you?
I just had that rough room with the armored poison fellows that shoot the fucking darts.
Oh, you'll love those ones. Yeah, they're always great. Good people. Good people.
Yeah, right people.
You shield guys are the fucking worst.
I'd like to see more options.
We will take Artemis on basic. That is fine.
Health is probably good. Cabbages. Cabbages are pretty easy when you have a bow.
Oh yeah.
True
that's
that.
fine. Oh, two.
I mean, no,
technically,
hang on. He had a gun. He had a gun, so that excuse is out the window.
Yeah, that's true. But he didn't know how to use it because you didn't tell him how. Or something.
In the name of Hades.
Not a good start.
Says you.
It says me indeed.
A wonderful start.
You mate, you've got the most minimal expectations. I expect nothing else but a wonderful start.
On to Hades.
Hey, fighting the boys.
Nice.
Yeah.
You better be winning. Who, me? Nah, Thor, I'm losing, mate. Heavily. Sancho's winning again.
This one doesn't count, so Gordo's winning.
He's gonna die on that hill, folks. Yeah, never counted. Never signed the waiver.
It's true. There's not an official sanctioned any percenters race.
And again, none of us are. It was
It
just
only
random.
counts It only counts if 3 of the founders are here, at least.
I mean, Simon's just basically an upgraded Excel, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
He said, "I don't even want to be that." What the fuck?
He took that as an insult.
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't even deny it, Simon. It's like, yeah, no, you're right. It was an insult. Fuck you.
Yeah, because I wouldn't put fucking anywhere near the amount of hours into a Resident Evil counter. Yes. You're not even Resident Evil 3. I actually wrote that game.
How do I do it? This fucking God call. How did I do it last time?
Press all your sticks together, and then you have to do a chant.
It
Press
worked.
up.
I think it is this double sticks, but I kept clicking them and I didn't want to do anything.
You have to be throwing ass while you do it as well. Otherwise it don't work.
uh,
I bet Tissiphane's up. Not quite.
I don't know which one of the Meg sisters I prefer to fight. They're all annoying. How are we doing, Alan?
I'll take any of them.
Yo, Alan. How are we?
Even the crazy one.
Right, that's that done.
Yep, same. That's done. 3
It's,
down.
folks, if you notice that Sancho's video starts looking a lot like he's watching mine, just with just the game content there.
All right, so now I've died with the spear. We go to the next weapon.
Bro is cooked.
Should I change that? Okay.
That's how this on.
Went down to play MTRL today and got told I'm not wanted there. So,
What?
what do you mean you got told you're not wanted there? This isn't by the owner, which is Paul, by any chance, is it?
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, fuck Pole.
Yeah,
I mean-
football.
Nah, I was gonna say
Well,
no.
the home is hateful.
Or is it was your part Paul Sound? Paul's all right, but normally that's a bit out of context.
Nah, football.
I
No,
mean,
fuck Pole.
if you want to, I mean, it's not really my type, but if he does it for you, you go, boys.
The MC. Yeah, fuck them all.
Oh, so they ain't a group, mate. I'm not fucking idiots.
That's
Give me look. I know some people from Birmingham. Do you want me to send them down? I got one in my ear right now. Just send him over there. I'm sure he's got a dodgy crew he can take down with him.
Oh, probably. Probably could get a few people.
Right, just
Look,
for
I'm
you,
on
I said my.
7 right, bro.
He's
I
7
have
goes up
extreme
to.
measures 2
What-
on. I
what
have
did you have
forced
to turn- what
overtime
did
2.
What did you have to turn on to make sure you don't get the
So I can watch you in the weekend. I appreciate that, Thar. I appreciate you. You should just go enjoy your time over there in Berlin.
Wait, what do I have to what do I have to put on the path to punishment to avoid?
Tight deadline. Tight deadline, and then you want forced overtime, which I think spawns everybody quicker.
Yeah, forced overtime. I have it at level 3.
So why you see you see your enemies quicker over.
Extreme measures on 2.
I don't have that one on, but you can. It just makes Lenny's a little bit more grouped together, so you can kill all the heads at once. More so, I think that's the big one for that one.
Yeah.
We'll have a look at it.
All right, I'm gonna do. We're doing the claws next, I guess.
Come on, Sanjay, please do one. Just get one done.
I've gone 3. We gotta die with every weapon. What am I using? Palm Blossom.
Did I change my weapon?
Okay, we're doing. How do I?
But yeah,
Claws?
Alan, don't worry. We'll sort out. Yeah, it's just we've our local pod's a little bit broken up at the moment.
Yeah, I gotta work.
Yeah, and it's all good. It's all good. Time to install campaign involved. Oh yeah, that's out now, innit? Yeah.
Heavy attack plus 2 rapid dash charges. Dash up.
Rose eating dinner now.
You
What?
Started eating dinner. That's how chill you taking a race.
Just chewing ice. Cause
Chewing
fuck ice.
ice.
Chew them.
Oh, fair enough, then. I mean, yeah, fuck ice. Oh,
Yeah.
I agree with that sentiment. My last pictures.
Hell yeah.
Beautiful.
Right.
I want Ares attack, right? I think. Yeah.
Ares attack's decent. It depends what you're going for. Like, I've come to realize the percent-based attack ones are definitely the best. They scale the best. You know, like Afro, Artemis, and Athena. If they scale off a percent increase, they just do a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
But if you get Ares and Athena's thing, where you get to trigger the Ares stacks quickly, then it's good. People are playing it now. I suppose the instant. I mean, don't forget some content creators will have access to it early though as well. There'll be that aspect.
What game is this? So we're talking about?
Halo 3 campaign evolved. The one the remastered.
Oh. Got it. Again? Didn't they? There's like 4 different fucking remasters of that shit.
Bruh, is it? Bruh, what are you bruhing at?
Why are they still making Halo games?
Yeah, exactly. Well, they destroyed the
The
Halo
message
in the
above
first-
that. What my friend invited me to play? Is that one or what am I going with here? Oh, hang on. Okay, I'm going back up to this. People are playing now. I think I read all those. Alan, you gaslight me. What's up? What's your beef? Message again or whatever I'm supposed to have missed.
I keep gaslighting him. We need him to slow down a bit.
Nah.
I need him to slow down now.
My friend invited me to play and it isn't even out. Oh.
Oh.
Okay, that makes sense. I was like, huh? Yeah. I just kind of went off the base that people are playing it. I was like, maybe early access or something, or early creators thing, or maybe they had a way of playing. I don't know. Maybe he had the right intention, just the lack of information, you know?
Is there a paid early access? We'll put it past whoever makes Halo these days. Paid early access on a remastered game was crazy.
You never know these days with games.
You already
Like,
have this game, bro. I can early access it, the normal version, right now.
Fucking
I
early
bought
access
fucking
10
campaign,
years
bro.
ago.
Yeah. Y'all gonna go see Hades Town in theater this weekend?
I don't live in London, so I'm not.
I don't know what that was. That you just said.
I said I don't live in London, so no.
Okay.
Halo Campaign Evolved Early Access officially launched on July 23rd. Players who purchase the Premium Edition, Collector's Edition, and Premium Upgrade. Bruh. I mean, I still couldn't justify it, not for a game that's already out.
Today's July 23rd.
When does it officially come out?
10 years ago.
Angelic, welcome in. Yeah, this is going horrendously bad for Sancho.
I'm doing alright. I'm 3 for 3.
Yeah,
0 for 3.
5 days early access is crazy on a fucking 10, 15-year-old game. They should be ashamed of themselves.
The power of the gods.
These bear claws are pretty cool.
You going for the Gilgamesh ones? The ones at MAME?
Sure. They're the ones that look like bear claws.
Yeah, they'll be the Gilgamesh ones then. Could have just said you don't know. Yeah, just say, let's just went for the ones, you know, do stuff.
I said the bear claw. They look like bear hands. That's why I picked them.
How's your 4th run getting on, Gordo?
We're gonna release him again. It's okay. I'm just trying to pick up Athena's dash here for a little bit of safety. We've got Artemis and thing. Could do with Heart Rend for a nice little bit of weakness stacking. But so far, so good. For now.
How's your 4th run?
It's going great.
Just roll with me. I respect it.
Hell yeah.
It's committed.
We're chilling. Gonna go talk to Boldy.
Satch's just here to like sort the house out, have chats with folks, get to know. He's doing Mario % over there. He's just trying to try and woo people.
Hell yeah. Oh, we got Athena special. It's over now.
No.
Mm. Come on, thing.
I think the one that teleports you is the easiest.
Which the one at teleport?
Symphony.
Oh yeah.
The
The
Symphony.
Symphony. Yeah,
Yeah. I'd agree.
yeah. The rest you gotta put some work in. Take them out and things. Buy 'em flowers.
We'll take a little bit of that. A little bit of ice wine.
I'm missing it. Also, Gordo, would you be down to do co-op on Halo Wars 2 at some point? Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Why not?
Fish. I've caught the most fish though, so
You create whatever run you want.
Yeah. You're not wrong there, Carlo.
I got a crustacean. You know when I first learned about like evolution and shit? I wanted to make an experiment where you keep chucking fish in lava until one of them survives, and then you invent lava fish.
I think you need to see a counselor from a young age.
I thought it would work. If you keep throwing them and then one survives, and then you're like, all right, and then you breed off that fish, and then you get lava fish.
I don't even know what to
It's
say to this.
evolution, bro. It's evolution.
Why not do that with people and then you get lava people?
We could get lava people.
Yeah, well, so you get lava people before you get arrested? That's the question.
See, they don't have vision, man. They're gonna arrest you first. They're gonna make you stop before you get there. They will never have lava people.
Oh, just back on it. Yeah.
Okay, Thanatos,
Yeah,
we'll do
that-
this.
They're definitely the crazy ones.
Yep, 100%.
Happening, Lenny.
Double boon? Yeah, fuck it. Double boon.
Wait, did I not get the fucking... Oh, shit.
Come on, Thanatos, can you kill these things quicker so I don't have to faff around with them?
You held your own, I guess. On to my next one.
Wish I could do that.
Okay, we'll take a fountain.
Ow.
Are you okay?
No.
Who's dead?
I'm on the struggle bus. Not as much as Sancho, but I'm on the struggle bus.
I'm not. I'm driving this struggle bus.
Sancho is the struggle. Thank you for the good luck, Excel.
Hey, Excel. Welcome in.
Thank you for the good luck, Excel. How are you doing?
Hot and tasty.
Right, we're on to the Minotaur and his mate.
Minotaur's boyfriend.
not not Achilles.
That's his name. No, Achilles' boyfriend's a different guy.
Oh yeah, of course. Jeez, I just wrecked the Minotaur's boyfriend.
In front of the Minotaur? Fucking hell.
He's dead.
Nice.
That's all for today's show.
I'm fighting some cabbages.
You are a fucking cabbage. Who's winning? Sancho is, mate. Can't keep up with him.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck was that? That was...
Nope.
That was just... the damage. Yeah, Sancho's cooking us, mate. You just can't keep up. That spice he brings to the table every time. Don't forget, he's never lost a race.
That's true. No, I didn't say I've never lost a race. I said I've never lost a race to you.
You have that.
No, I haven't. When?
Expedition 33, you was a part of the race, mate.
That didn't count. What are you talking about?
He lost on that race. No, he was on my team. He can't have lost that one. We won.
Your dash becomes sturdy. Or recover. Recover. Got a lot of cash actually. Go spend it.
Spendings. Oh, you fucking tiny vermin dick. Again.
Don't talk to Wicked that way.
I mean, I'll talk to him however I want to talk to him.
Oh look, I've never gotten past the second boss with the bear claws, so I can get a diamond. That means I can do more house shit, actually.
Oh, fucking hell. Winner. He's the real winner.
He is.
Who?
You.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't lose.
Time to go play my rivals' ranked placements while paying zero attention. Why? You love your rivals. Why paying zero attention? Pay that attention.
Nah, that's overrated.
He's playing Rivals.
Alan.
You don't need
Marvel.
attention for that.
What the hell? I didn't think anyone played that anymore.
It's quite a popular game.
They released the beach skins, so everyone's playing it again.
Oh, right. Okay. You doing it.
Yeah. That's why I went back on Fortnite. Hell yeah.
I mean, yeah.
You gotta get that buff
Poison all
cat
that, yeah.
Fortnite skin.
Oh, I don't know. You got different ideas.
Oh, 2 set.
Hey. Sancho understands it. Yeah, see? Yeah, beach Emma Frost. See, look at that. I told you that's why they went back to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I would love to see Beach Emma Frost. Yeah,
Hell
put a picture of that in the Discord. And
Put it in the Discord. for research
yeah.
purposes.
You're not DMing me.
No, put it public. It's gotta be public. Everyone needs to see this.
Gigantic
All right, we're on to Hades. DM to who? The any percenters, just the general.
Yeah. Yeah, just put it in there.
Just start it in, games, generals.
Make sure you put that Simon requested it specifically.
That's fine. That's fine, about me.
Games discussion. Perhaps check this out. I don't know about that.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, fuck.
She's alright.
Let's have a look.
Not that great.
What,
seen
what,
better.
what channel? What channel's it in?
We're not finished.
Games discussion.
Mm, I feel like the
You got
No.
quiet watching.
I think I'll agree with Sancho.
Yeah.
I don't see what beats you about it for a start. She's just in a one piece and a fucking shit hat.
Yeah. In a shit hat, you said? Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Has there any other beach skins? Can't remember who's in that game.
There.
Probably some other good ones, surely.
Yeah. I'm sure there's better ones.
Someone very sore right now.
There's a
He was the
ton.
one character that everyone fucking. Was it
Scarlet
was it
Witch?
Cecil?
Psylocke? Probably.
Thus, having once more gained at the surface,
Quite possibly.
faced father's realm beneath the earth.
Punisher?
Resourceful Zagreus toward the one-time abode.
Don't know about
That one is
that.
better from player perspective.
Considerable distances, which he has already completed many times, and which
Minotaur.
So, imagine he made it there with just time enough to water the crops and tidy up a bit before.
Oh shit. Oh
You
shit.
ever seen a cow fight a bear? That's what's going on now. Bro, did you see the TikTok of the bear that climbed the telephone pole or like the electrical pole?
No.
Yeah, he got stuck on top and people kept calling. And they're like, there ain't shit we can do. He got up there, he can get himself down, I guess. He's like on top of a 50-foot pole just chilling.
Have you seen
Fucking
Have you seen the
bears, man.
Have you seen the TikTok of the guy that was looking for his cow and it ended up being on top of the roof?
No. Fucking
Yeah.
roof cat.
Starting assignment now.
Minotaur down.
Nice.
Type the
We are on to Spear.
nice.
You finished your fourth one? Or did you die?
Yes, indeed.
You died?
No, I did it. I did it.
Of course he did it. He's locked in. What weapons you got left? Spear and what?
Spear and then bow to finish it up with.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fair play, GG's.
This whole thing became a that we're off now. We've left him to it.
I'm just vibing. It didn't count anyways.
I need a death from you. Is what I need. Otherwise, I got no chance. I was always just a little bit behind.
Well, you just need me to die once. I mean, there's a chance. There's like a very, very heavy chance. I was surprised I got the shield one done in all fairness. It was just because it was doing so much damage.
Hmm. Oh, this fucking room again, man. Why do they always give me this room?
Which room is it?
The fucking dickhead poisonous fucking enemies.
Oh, you got all of them.
Nah.
Yeah, we'll take Afro. Afro on basic, sure.
Hey, Hades' boyfriend or not Hades, Achilles' boyfriend and Achilles are hanging out. Restore all death defiances? Fuck yeah.
I needed that other run. I had to pay for mine individually. Sup, Tofu?
What's up?
Alright, we'll take that.
Any percenters?
Damn right.
Take it.
Damn right.
Oh shit.
It's going great.
Yeah, it's going. It's certainly going.
We're chilling. We're having fun.
Oh, I can fish. I can start winning some fishing.
You gotta catch 3 to catch up.
Oh no, damn! I'm doing 2 races. Are you doing married percent as well? You gotta try and get
Mario
basically.
percent.
No, married as in like you gotta woo somebody in the game.
Oh, married. I heard Mario percent.
We're gonna take a moment to fish. All right, folks. Have you checked out the new map in Goon Arrivals, by the way?
Told you.
Ah, well.
Easily, I think Thar is our biggest simp here. I'm just. I know Excel has his moments.
Fuck you know. Quite defeats out Goon XL. You gotta respect it.
I don't know. I feel like Thar really has it down more.
We need to have them compete.
I mean, the Gooner.
Yeah, the Gooner.
For Twitch, to be honest. Oh, to be honest, I'm not sure it's something I want to watch either.
You would. You'd be in there as well.
Oh shit.
Oh shit, I have 661. I need 5 more coins.
There's a chance
So I
we'll
really win.
I got
666%.
lucky.
Mm,
Alright,
don't really think I want
boys.
Ares. Afro, go for Artemis, I think. Or Athena.
Didn't get a 2-sack this one. A bit sad.
You want what?
I didn't get a
Didn't get
2-sack.
2-sack.
Oh, no. Sack them down, folks.
I'll take it. I'll take it definitely fine, so I might need it.
Peg legs down.
Nice seeing you.
Egg leg.
Peg leg mag.
Oh,
Oh.
that was a leg, bro.
Sancho's just fried from work. He's not his normal self. He's like, ah, yeah, okay. He's cooked from corporate life.
Yeah, yeah. The least corporate job.
True that.
I've just been touching so many people's weird dusty ass fucking collections. And talking to them about fucking.
I'm glad you finished
weird
that sentence
shit.
off with something else. Just no dusty asshole. I'll let you fill in the blanks.
Dude,
I was like, where is this going?
the people that you meet at shows are fucking crazy. So most
That's
of
why
them are
you go.
nice.
That's why you go. You are
And then-
basically those people.
And then you talk to some man about fucking wrestling. I don't fucking know shit about wrestling, but I gotta be nice. So I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. He's like,
Natural
"Yeah,
Libre."
I used to wrestle my cousin all the time. And I was like, yeah, really? That's cool. Yeah, she would talk shit and I would body slam her. I'm like, all right.
Oh,
Please leave me the fuck alone. Yeah, it was crazy. But I did it safely, though. I was like,
You
"Shut
met
the fuck
Reeps. You basically just met Reeps.
up." Yeah. It might have been, bro.
That damn redneck.
The rednecks love wrestling, man. They fucking.
Hey,
So
you
much.
are basically one of those crazy folks you're going to meet. What are you complaining about yourself for? Like, you are those crazy folks.
I'm not that crazy. I can talk about anything. These motherfuckers just want to talk about wrestling. And then they want to touch the figures and not buy shit. Tell me how good Razor Ramon was back in the day and all this shit. And I'm like, please, just stop it. Stop touching it.
Stop touching what? What are you going to
Yeah.
these shows?
No, bro, they pick up these loose because we had a bucket of loose figures and they like fucking touch it and stroke it and shit. I'm like, stop touching it if you're not gonna buy it. It's fucking crazy.
Sancho's been doing some
Always the
crazy
wrestlers,
bits
bro.
of work,
It's always the
crazy
wrestlers.
movements. Stop touching my
Putting
bits. Put it
stank on
down.
it and shit. These they're fucking weird.
you
It's
gotta
a
put
weird-
some stank on it, man.
Yeah, dude. Conventions are a weird other universe.
Oh, God.
Mm-mm.
That's
Nah.
what she said. Yeah, put some stank on it.
What we naring at, Alan? What we naring?
But he hasn't played the new map, he said.
Oh, okay. Keep up my chat. Too much conversations about rednecks touching themselves and touching Sancho's bits and just, you know, being all up in his grill. Put some stank on it.
Yeah. They're fucking weirdos.
Leave Reeps alone, he's good peeps.
That doesn't mean he's still not a weirdo. You can be good and a weirdo. Level 13. No, level 32. We'll do that.
Hmm? So Big Sam, which one's Big Sam? Is it Big Sancho? Is that Big Sam? Is Alan Big Sam? I want Sancho to be Big Sam.
Sancho? Big Sam.
No,
Who's
it's Big Sam. Oh, now it's Big Sam in my eyes and nothing else. Yo, Big Sam.
Sam. Who's Big Sam? I think Simon's Big Sam.
Nah,
No way.
that's Big
Yeah,
Si.
see Simon. I told you. Simon's Big Sam.
Nah, your name's been taken. All right, it's now Sancho's Big Sam.
No. Tofu said Simon. Simon's Big Sam. Big Salmon.
Yeah, tofu.
He doesn't have a
Thanks,
nickname. He's got to have one.
Like, people call me Sam. Oh, shit. Alright.
All right, Lenny, let's go.
Hey, 2 sack, baby.
Oh, all the sacks. Oh,
Last thing I need is a death. Oh shit.
did you die?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Come on, you can do it. Lock in Big Sam. Come on, Big Sam. All of the Sam.
Big Sam's got this.
All of the Sam. Do it for Samwise Ganji.
That's the biggest Sam.
He's Goat Sam.
I fucking cooked myself massive.
Oh, mate. Why are you cooking for? It's not time for cooking, Sam.
Oh, I fucked up. I forgot
Oh,
about that.
Sancho. Mini Sam over there. Why are you fucking up?
Yeah.
I bought the anvil thinking it was gonna give me some shit. It just replaces your
Mm-hmm.
hammers.
Yeah, you don't. I never take those because like it's just like random shit for
I don't know what
you.
it fucking gave me. God damn it! I had good ones too. How do I even check, bro?
Press whatever your thing has been remapped to. Maybe just throw your thing out the window and it'll press the right button for you.
Okay.
I don't know what yours is mapped to.
Clutch, that was close. I nearly
I
fumbled.
can't see them. Right?
You
Where's the
you through?
fucking-
Is that 3 runs done?
4.
4? Oh, okay. Sam over here. Big Sam showed up. All the Sam.
Oh, breaching cross. No, I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, well, 4-4. You're gonna need to be perfect to.
I mean, that sounds like a great show. Let's go with that. That's not gonna happen.
I mean,
It's fine. I made it to Hades, so when I die here, we're good. So you're both on your last 2, right?
yeah. Well, Gordo's
Yeah.
already part through this, but
He could fuck it up.
Just got the Achilles thing, which gives me 3 ways slash, and I've got flurry jab, which means I have fast
3
basics.
ways. Hell yeah.
3 ways?
Achilles and his boyfriend?
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Not with Big Sam and Little Sam.
yeah, missing out.
I don't know about that Big Sam. I don't think he's all that big.
It depends what angle you look at it from.
Yeah, the lighting, the angle, all that.
Yeah, if you put in the work, you can make it look big.
I don't think anyone can put that level of work in. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, we'll take this and not for the Defiance. We'll take it for a free room and damage. 6% damage on my basics. Sure.
Yeah, what's that? Come on.
Okay. Spear's cooking. Spear's cooking. Oh, okay. We're getting all the duos. We got some legendaries. Okay, we're cooking.
Fourth death. On the 5th.
We're all going bar for bar, man. We're all on our 5th run. You gotta respect
Hell
it.
yeah. Ooh. I can make things purple. I can buy some new drapes. Ooh, I can unlock this. The Royal Tombs.
So it's just,
Hell
you
yeah.
know.
Now you can see the bones in the main hall. That's pretty cool. Oh, I can add bats. Let's do that. A little bat cage in the restaurant. Hell yeah. Everything in there. I don't really spend on music, but I should because the music in this is pretty good actually.
True.
Oh shit, there's something on. What do I get? Oh, I got 3 juices. Vanquish extreme measures Theseus, then seek Poseidon. Oh, sick. Oh no, slay 10,000 foes or more, then seek Ares. Got it. Got some juices to give out. What do you think it tastes like?
What?
It's supposed to be real good, right? The juice?
is- I mean, I'm sure it's delightful. Nectar of the gods,
Yeah, it's
right?
supposed to be like hella good, right? Yeah. What would that taste like for you, though? What would be your favorite, like, amazing taste? Because I think it's also supposed to be like what tastes good to you.
I don't know, actually. You've got too much time on your hand, Mr. Nora.
I'm chilling. Let's see. We're using the gun next. Which gun? After you manually reload, 4 seconds after absorbing your special. Oh, that's where you like shoot on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's, yeah,
That's the one Eris one.
yeah. Shoot on yourself and you're stronger.
Yeah, just
Absorb it.
take a shot to yourself. Alright, Elysium done.
Oh yeah, 5th run started.
Please hold your applause.
Oh, Athena special, hell yeah. Oh, it doesn't, it's stupid. Why did I take that? Because they don't work the same.
That was Elysium.
No, it does not.
I forgot I had the gun, if I'm honest.
Deflect with my white. Oh, shit. That's a crap ass deflect.
yeah. It's fucking awful.
No, what are you deflecting? Like, hey,
that's
just
the
wait for it to
sword,
land.
dude.
Just wait for it to land, alright? It's going to deflect somewhere.
Well, if I shoot it on myself, right, and then it deflects anything that was going to hit me, I guess that's
Yeah.
fine.
You start deflecting their attacks? Yeah, cool. Let's do that. Or your own attacks on occasions. Like helping your enemies out. That you
You can't deflect yourself, can you?
I mean, you can try. If anybody could at Sancho, it'd be you.
No, pretty pressure.
No pressure? Who's got pressure?
I've got no pressure because this race is fake.
Tiny vermin. I swear, I've had this one every run.
Because you're doing seeded runs.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's been caught. It's been fucking rumbled.
Yeah, so I'm doing seeded runs and I gave myself the slowest one to fight every time. That's right, yeah.
Yeah, just to make it seem legit. You know you'll get.
Absolutely, 100%.
Oh, these hands. I didn't know these hands could chain you up, actually.
Yeah,
This
only
gun
to make
is
sure you.
awful, dude. I hate this fucking gun so much.
You want the one that lets you either shoot 3 of your Y in quick fashion,
Just
or
in
the
general,
one
this gun is awful. Any of the guns. I don't like it.
you should try Lucifer. That one's great. That's Sam,
Big Sam. You gotta
A
use the
big
full
Sam.
title.
the biggest of Sams.
Should be useful. It's no use.
No 2 sacks here. We got possibly going to be a 4 sack.
Sort
Do we
of,
need to see the
Double
doctors?
stack.
Ah, 3 sec, alright.
Hash and dash and
Where you at, Si? Alright. Wait. You're my tail?
Asphodel? Nah, not really. No, I definitely need to step up.
I forget about the like support thing until the big button pops up that says push this for support, and then I immediately push it. It's always a good idea.
Such a fuck. It's like, oh yeah, I forget that I have tools that I could use in this game because I remap all my buttons to not work.
We're just gonna take a bunch of health and hope we survive at the end. That's the strat.
Won't you let your wretches rest in peace?
The fact that you like have to stand still to shoot the gun is why I don't like it.
Press thingy. You can do like a dash strike with it. If you try dashing one and then press shoot after, you do like a couple of shots and you can keep moving around.
That's cool. Learning the weapons is we race. It's the perfect way to do it.
Exactly.
That's what you do. Practice.
Right.
What's that?
I mean, this is a practice race, so I guess it is a good time to do it.
He's dying on the hill. He's dying on the hill.
I'm done. He's like, I'm over this joke.
Big
It's fine.
Sam's
If I do it
Big Sam's
20
serious
more
right now.
times, it'll be funny again.
I don't think it was ever funny. To be honest.
Hey, no need for that, Big Sam. Come on, don't be that
It's
guy.
funny. It's funny to me. That's all that matters. I'm here for my own entertainment.
That's valid.
Sure. Seeking fire. Ice lady.
Alright, done. One more to go. Ah, days.
Made sure it worked that time.
I'll give it the easiest weapon for your last weapon.
Are you on the last one now?
Yes, indeed. We're onto the bow.
Oh.
The bow. Let's go.
Let's go, Coronat.
Roll the fuck. The gang broke. Oh, wait, what the fuck?
What is going on?
What? What's going on over
I
there?
just hear noises, bro. Just making weird.
It's a map for some more.
What?
I don't know what happened, bro.
I tried to get on the wrong barge, and it was a barge that came in on it. Obviously, well, it didn't have a thing on it because someone came in on.
Come get shot.
You're saying words. I think they mean.
Whenever Simon gets excited, it's just gone, dude.
It's Sam. Who the fuck is Simon? I don't recognize Simon anymore.
Big Sam. That's we can understand Simon. We don't know what Big Sam's saying.
Big Sam says all the words. It's alright, Sam. Don't worry, mate. We're here for you. Not that dickhead, Simon. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, good.
Oh shit, we got Meg finally. The sister keeps coming in, but we got the OG. Technically, it's both of them, actually.
True.
Can you summon? Oh, I can't summon her.
You
against
can't.
this.
You can't summon against the sun. No. They made that valid.
Makes sense. It'd be cool though.
Hit yourself, haha, bitch.
Well, I would want it if I was making this game. I'd make it like a bootleg. I'd make it the skeleton dressed as Meg, and then just have her do the same
One damage.
shit.
I just don't want damage.
What was that? What was that, Sam?
One average, she said.
1 damage.
One damage comes in, does nothing yet. 1.
Yeah.
Something else.
It'd be cool. He's dead.
Ah,
What happened, Sam? Big Sam, you okay, Big Sam?
yeah, I'm Gucci.
you really, you sound like stuff's happening to you, mate. Are you sure you're okay?
Yeah. I'm just a little bit fucking.
I keep staring at the Emma Frost picture and getting distracted.
Nah. I'm a frosted mid, I can't lie. I got so big dreams and not fucking deal with expectations.
That's true, 100%. They hyped it up. It's not worth the hype there.
Not even close.
Down to a different set of choices.
To give Invisible Woman a skin. No, she got a skin.
Yeah, you can't see it though.
Got you in there.
Even better. God,
Nah, I'm trying. It's just this race don't count, so
Just no Sancho's trolling. He is 100% not trolling. He is super serious. How's it in Zoom? Been a minute. How's our Canadian brethren? Sancho's putting his heart and soul into this run.
they're having a good time,
Yeah.
man. They
That's
wouldn't
what we're here
even
for.
talk to me about what they think the juice tastes like.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I was actually thinking about that, but I was like, I don't actually know. And then Big Sam came out, and that took the limelight. I'm sorry, there's a mid question compared to Big Sam.
Do I have money? I do. We'll go for herpes.
always go for herpes.
Yeah. Last time
You set the
Sancho was
trend.
involved in a Hades race. Oh, that's right. I forgot that he won a mat because I beat you. See, that race counted.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but that was Sancho in his prime. Now he's washed.
Yeah, we're retired now.
In the name of Hades.
You watching the season of F1, Simon, at all or nah?
Nah.
Who the fuck's Simon?
That's Simon. When he can't speak, it's Big Sam. Right now, he's Simon.
I'm not fucking Jekyll and Hyde. Why? Is there anything interesting going on?
Yeah, George Russell's losing his shit because Kimi Antonelli, the fucking 19-year-old, keeps winning, and he's probably gonna take the championship. It's fucking great.
Who did he drive for? Antonella.
Who's he? What?
Who's he driving for?
He's Mercedes. Him and Russell are both Mercedes.
Oh, Mercedes back on top.
Yeah, right now the new regulations put Mercedes back on top. Ferrari's like right behind them, but Hamilton's I think in second for the championship this year. His comeback. is coming.
No forward here. Hamilton back on
Yeah,
top.
if only Lewis stayed. Yeah, but he's doing all right in Ferrari this year. He see the theory is he's good this year because he started going out with Kim Kardashian, and she normally takes away like athletes' power, but I think she space jammed him.
I thought you were going to say
now he-
athlete's foot or some shit. She usually takes athlete's foot.
No, yeah, every athlete she like goes out with starts playing like fucking ass. So she's been taking their powers, and then this year
Yeah.
she finally
She's a
space
witch.
jammed them into Lewis Hamilton. So now
She's a
good
witch.
again. Yeah, she's a witch.
And so yeah, you fit into these card shows. It's like she's a witch, and she takes their powers and she does satanic rituals.
And now, yeah, she gave it to Lewis Hamilton. And then, okay, so there was a whole thing where she went to the race, and then she stole Kimi Antonelli's towel, and there was a big old thing. And then Kimi had won like 5 races in a row, and then she stole his towel, right? And then he lost the next race because she took.
Why is
his
she stealing his
powers.
towel for? What she need a towel for?
I don't know.
Why would
To
she
steal his
in the
power,
world?
bro. She stole his power. That's why she needed it. This is all real.
I don't know what to say about it.
100% real.
I won't
But
put
yeah,
it
this
past her.
19-year-old dude, he won a race in Texas, and they couldn't give him champagne at the podium because he was underage.
Oh,
He's like, bro,
I know.
I'm Italian. I've been drinking since I was like fucking 15. But they said, nah.
America's
here you're
so
not.
bad.
Yeah.
You can fucking, you can drive from fucking 12 or some shit. You can fucking toot guns, shooting, rooting, tooting.
You can get a gun before you can drive. Oh, sorry, before you can drink.
100%.
Sorry.
Yeah. You can, and before you can drive. You can get a gun before you can vote.
Only essentials here. You want a gun? No, I just want a drink.
Yeah.
It's like no, that wasn't an option.
Here you go, have a revolver instead. It'll make you feel better.
Simon, how we doing, mate? You finished that run yet? We back to neck and neck 5 and 5. What
Nah,
do you mean nah?
I'm in Alicia.
I don't hear that. I don't hear that nonsense.
Yeah. Can get married, can get a gun, but drinking? Nah. That's too much. Cigarettes now are 21. Too. Used to be 16, but now that's at 21.
It should be at low 21 to be fair.
Hear me on my authority.
Hmm.
All right, we're on the snaky boy.
Lenny! I'm heading to it now.
I'm glad it's 18.
Oh, it's fucking Achilles and his fella.
You think the bot is so racist? Try it.
Good enough to eat.
Any percenters?
Oh yeah, shit, yeah. Then the racist part. I did that in with Reaps the other day, and it's still like banned me from his. I was like, dude, I was like, why is this word so bad?
Hey, it worked now.
No, I just allowed it through. I was like, I will allow the racist term.
Oh.
Always hits the spot.
Hey, it's me again.
I don't even know why the any percenters is like frowned upon as per Twitch's standards. So no, dodgy this.
Oh shit.
Because it's we're a gang. There's no
Oh.
gangs allowed.
I mean, it could well be. Good thing we're a gang. Most lame ass gang going.
Nah, we're hella cool.
Just beat
With
the
a-
Minotaur and his fella.
Nice. Hey, beat the snake.
Lovely.
He's not even a snake, really. He's a hydra. Bone hydra.
Come on.
You think he's just got multiple heads or like multiple other things?
Sanjay just like, you know what? I came here for intrusive thoughts because I got nothing else. I've got nothing left. Like, has the Hydra got multiple of those utensils?
I was talking about like
so
hands,
it-
man. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it's just heads. To be fair.
Just heads. Just the big head, not the small head.
Yeah. Oh, I had to guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they all feel it at the same time, right? Because they share.
Yeah, they do. Simultaneous.
They make different faces, or it's the same face.
Definitely different faces.
Yeah.
Sanjay, you put too much thought into this. This was even a passing phase. It's like, yeah.
30 seconds of thought. You just speak. You don't think. That's how these conversations come, bro. You don't think. You just
He's
speak.
definitely been drinking one night and fucking had this thought. We had no one else to
Science,
say.
man. You gotta be curious about the world.
You gotta be curious about them Hydra penises.
Yeah. You never seen an animal be like, fuck, dude, that thing's got... If an animal had like 5 of them, you'd be interested. You're like, what the fuck is with that animal? That's why the circus got started, right? Because of weird shit like that.
But yeah, for more penises. That's what the sex guys.
Dude, if a guy was advertised as like...
If you have
5
more
penises,
penises, we have a place for you.
people would go see that man.
I mean, we
Curious.
know you're down there. We know you're down
Oh,
there,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
You'd be front row. Every fucking every show.
So yeah, man, you gotta see the world. You gotta see weird shit.
You gotta see penises, folks. That's it.
Only if there's 5 of them.
Oh, yeah, anything less is not a fun show for 'em.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it.
No, there's no point getting out of bed.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get out of bed for less than 5 penises.
And you'll get in the bed for 6.
Yeah, man. Each hand, each foot, 2 holes.
Oh, 2 socks.
I got the money, so we'll go double boon.
How'd you last one getting on, Gordo?
We're back in Elysium.
Oh my god.
What do you mean, mate?
That's a disgusting, to be honest.
I mean, it is actually. I agree with you completely.
Oh shit.
Minotaur.
Okay. I think we'll just keep stacking health at this point.
I'm playing the safe game. I'll just put it.
I don't know about that. None of this is safe right now, but we'll see.
Got him.
Hades?
No, that was the baby bull.
Oh, I was about to say, Sanjay, you pull one run out of the bag all of a sudden now. I respect it.
Yeah, I'm gonna start practicing now. So actually playing. All the warm up runs are done. Oh shit, the boyfriend. Got my defiances back.
Oh, I forgot what bow I'm using. Oh, that's jokes. I could have been doing so much damage.
Other boyfriends here. Thanatos.
Touched up Hades again. At least on 5 for 5. That's not bad.
Nice.
Don't spend it all in one place, mate.
Alright, on to the Minotaur.
Asterius, Theseus, Megara.
Come on, then. Let's make it at least a fucking clean sweep. It is where head out or.
Alright, Minotaur's down.
That'll show them. Enjoy the rest of your existence, Shades. I can use this. Which one? One last stop.
Onto this area. Can I get 6 for 6 on Tiny Vermins to start this?
Let's see here. Try this way. I can't. I'm out. Not yet.
Damn poison.
How many times do you think you can kill the same guy? Like, you know how they respawn if you don't touch the little ball?
I think they just continue to do it.
You think you can like kill a guy like 200 times just to ruin his life?
You should try it.
I don't think it's ruining his life. I think it's ruining your life.
Yeah,
You
but
gotta
like
tweak it.
imagine, imagine keep getting killed and over and over and over again. That shit would suck.
Not as much as it suck having to kill someone over and over again.
I mean, better to be the one killing than killed, right? I think.
Keep searching.
I think that's
No, but
maybe.
it's debatable. It's debatable.
Not yet.
All right, we're on the boys.
The boys.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Not too sack, no. Oh, we are a 2 sack.
Need to sack already.
You sacking it.
Time to deliver the goods. Should come in useful. Bit of a blessing.
The fears
Yeah, there's no way I win this one. I'm not doing shit for damage.
I owe you one, boy.
Gun is the worst one.
I mean, it certainly has its moments.
Nah.
You get some of the hammer. If you get the hammers, it gets better. But yeah, when it starts out, it's pretty like, yeah, this is trash.
The bear claws are pretty fun.
Just sit. Oh, that tough. Ah, you stupid bitch. Ah, lovely. You killed Hades yet?
Almost. No, I'm joking. I'm not. Still phase 1.
Just got to ask for that.
Not so fast. Don't do that. I can't do that right now.
All right, phase 2.
Boys are done.
Let's see you deal with this. I'm out of my sight. I'm out. I'm empty. I can't. Can't do that. Go back.
Hello, Athena.
No. You can't withstand me.
Not yet. I'm out. I'm empty.
And we're done.
Nice.
Not sub 3 hour.
It seems I was no match for you this time. Well done, boy.
See you at home.
We'll take that. That was a clean sweep.
In the name of
I will take not a failed run.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Just didn't count.
GG's.
Yeah, shame it didn't count.
I'm not even phased that point. Not even phased that point. I mean, regardless, I will take. After the crap show we had last time we raced Sancho, I'll take that.
Mm-hmm. That's because you fold under pressure. When the race counts, you're terrible.
I know you're right.
Don't count, you do real good.
When is the thing? I'm just assuming it finishes when I last hit. Ends in an instant. Final boss of the open run. That's okay. Cool. Sweet. Well, I mean, Simon, Sam, Big Samaroonie, the Samus of Sams. You put in a good shot, mate. You still went back to back 5 for 5.
Yeah.
You should still finish it, by the way.
I'm gonna still finish it.
Good lad. That's what I like to hear. Sancho, you should still finish yours.
Oh yeah.
You still gotta go 6 turn.
I'm submitting this to first run.
Submit it to hitless.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You're not supposed to get hit here, right?